I'm out here off grid, and there's a guy who has 80 acres. You know, I'm off grid, but I mean, at least I'm close to a paved road. This guy's in the middle of nowhere. But what a beautiful piece of property. It's got a generator already. It's got septic. It's got, solar. And the guy wants $200,000, which I think is a screaming deal. And, but I don't want to part with the $200,000 now. So I say to him, hey, listen, what I'd like to do is get an option contract to buy your property for $200,000. I'll give you $20,000 to allow me to buy this property for the next 18 months for $200,000. That's a call contract, right? I have the opportunity to call it away for $200,000. And now, I was thinking if I do this, I think, I got people in California that would freak if I told them I could get them 80 acres off grid. And I call my buddy in California. All he does, Josh, is bitch about California. And I tell him all the time, well, then just move. I'm tired of you bitching about California. And, if you don't like it anymore, like me, get up and move. Anyways, I call him and I say, hey, John, I found 80 acres that you can get for $300,000. Ooh. I send him the pictures. He says, Dean, I'll take it. So, Josh, now what I'm going to do is exercise my call contract. I'm going to buy the property for $200,000. I paid $20,000. I sell it to my cousin for $3,000. I make $80,000. Now, as I mentioned, Josh, the reason I haven't done that, and people keep giving me grief, well, Dean, you have $200,000. Why don't you buy it? I go, well, I'm not in the acquisition stage of my life. And, I'd be afraid somebody's out there stealing that generator and messing with the solar. Could be a problem, is a problem, never be a problem if I don't buy it. Now, let's say that, we hit a recession or something. And now 80 acres next door to him is going for $150,000. Remember, I said I could buy it for 18 months for $200,000. So how could it expire? If the property's worth $150,000, I'm not going to exercise my contract to buy a $200,000 property worth $150,000. It has no intrinsic value and it would expire worthless. Now, Josh, the bigger question on the test is to know that when I give you time clock questions about an option, a great memory aid device is T. I'm not asking, Josh, what can happen to an investor in an option contract. I could make money, lose money, break even. I'm not asking. I'm asking what can happen to an option contract. T. The option contract can be traded. So you can trade the option. If you did an opening purchase, you can do a closing sale. If you did an opening sale, you can do a closing purchase. So you can trade the option. The option contract can get exercised. Now, I'm under no obligation on their test to tell you whether or not an option contract got exercised. If at expiration the contract has intrinsic value, the contract will be exercised. Apple's at $200 a share, and I buy a $200 call, and Apple's at $240. I'm going to exercise. The last thing, and your point, that can happen to an option contract is it can expire. And if at expiration the contract has no intrinsic value, the contract will expire worthless. In other words, if Apple's $190, the 200 call is going to expire worthless. Be careful. Is that good news or bad news? That depends. If you bought the 200 call, you'd lost your premium. If you sold the 200 call, you keep it.